2010 IBS School Debate Competition. This is the second of its kind. We had the first one last year. IBS with its presenting partners, the National Broadcasting Corporation and Kundu, our national television service, are proud to bring to you this school debate competition involving 20 NCD schools and 8 schools in Lane. Before we start today's session, our second session, I'd like to call upon IBS Dean of Institutional Development, Dr. Mark Solon, to say a few remarks before we start.
Good morning, participants and debaters, teachers, and interested observers. It is again a great pleasure to see you all come this morning. Yesterday, we listened to some very interesting topics and debates and points of views from the debating teams. Now, it's quite interesting as the day progressed. We learned a lot through the process. So thank you again for coming this morning. This morning we will have the other Pool B members to present to us their views about the various topics. And the topics again are decentralization can break PNG, HIV can destroy human resource of PNG, PNG is a rich natural resource, it has a rich natural resource, but it is poor. Right? Education and life skill will provide the opportunity to earn an honest living. Parliament must have 22 seats. These are very interesting and important topics for our country. And as I said yesterday, more importantly, for the growing population of Papua New Guinea. And you, our participants today, will be the people who will lead our country in 10, 20 years' time. We have much confidence in you. So it is important that you begin to, again, look forward to these issues, plan our nation. At the end, some of us will be following you. And this is an opportunity, especially for the debaters who are going to be up front. But just as important is for those of us who are listening. The judges and all participants that were here yesterday agreed that the debates, the debating teams were very good. I was particularly impressed, especially in the rebuttals that the debating members responded to their challenges or questions that was put to them. In a debating exercise, you can prepare for the topic and the presentation, but when it comes to rebuttal, you have to think on the spot. And I think the respondents yesterday on the rebuttals were very, very good. It demonstrated that we have a thinking population. We have intelligent people in this country. And we have to be proud of it, and you are showing that. And for us judges and interested participants here, we're looking forward to another good day. So without further ado, I want to say welcome to the debaters and to all of you who are here. We look forward to an interesting and a learning day that is before us. Congratulations again for coming and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Solon. Are you ready for this session? Are you ready for these sessions? Yes. Okay, for those who were here yesterday, thank you for coming again. Those who just came or joined us, we welcome you and thank you to both the teachers and the participants for preparing for this debate. As I have mentioned earlier, IBS is happy to partner with NBC and Kundu to present the school debate competition. This is basically to develop our leaders of tomorrow. I would also like to take this time to acknowledge our sponsors, which are Daltron, Supreme Industries, BSP, Ella Motors, Remington Technology, DataNets, and the National Capital District Commission. We also like to thank the Next of Kin Productions for managing our sound system. And for the interest of those who have joined us, I am Rose Kuabal. I am Assistant Lecturer in the School of Business. I will be your Mistress of Ceremony for today and as well as Friday. Our three judges are seated up in front. They are Dr. Mark Solon, Dean of Institutional Development for IBS. He's already been up here, so you know. The second judge is Miss Ashwin Enoch. She's one of our senior lecturers for School of Business. And we have Mr. Hubert Kikira. He's from the Regal, Manua, and Kikira lawyers. Please make welcome our judges. I'd like to acknowledge also our timekeeper. He'll be monitoring our timing for all our sessions. Okay, now to the debate rules. There are 20 schools for this debate for NCD. Each team should comprise of 4 members, first speaker to the 4th speaker. There will be a total of 10 debates. The debate will be carried out like yesterday, Pool A, and today, Pool B. The teams will debate in pools, and the top 2 of each pool will advance to the semis and then to the final. The finalists of NCD schools will debate with the finalists of lay schools. And the lay team will come over to NCD for this debate. IBS had awarded the topics to the schools when the teachers came here, and so everyone should have been prepared for each topic. So for today, when the judges announce the winners, then we're going to have Wednesday and Thursday for the preparation of Friday's debate for the semifinals. The first speaker to the 3rd speaker are given 5 minutes, while the last speaker is given 10 minutes. Warning bell for the first to the 3rd speaker is going to be given at the 4th minute. So the first bell, may I please ask the timekeeper to give a demo? That's the first bell for the 4th minute, for the first to 3rd speakers. And the final bell that's going to ring at the 5th minute, it's going to be 2 rings. And that means time up. That's for first to 3rd. The 4th speaker, the 9th minute, the bell is going to ring 1 time, and the 10th minute twice. Strictly palm cards are required, only short notes. No other forms of notes are allowed. Participants must face the audience and no personal attacks. The scoring will be given by judges using the adjudication sheet. This sheet was drawn up by teachers prior to this debate, so it's going to be fair. So our judges are made up of 2 of our staff members from IBS and Mr. Kikira, our lawyer. The winning team will advance to grand final, and grand finalist prize will be awarded on Friday. The other teams will get consolation prizes as well. To the audience, please do not call out answers or give hints while the participants are talking. We'll advise you to keep quiet. Your turn will come when you ask questions after each topic has been discussed. Okay, that'll be all for the rules. Note to the participants, when you are addressing the question asked by one of the audience, please we encourage students to answer diplomatically, not personal attacks as well. So you're going to get points when you are answering as well. All of us here are here for learning, and we're trying to develop ourselves as young leaders for this nation. So when the winners are announced at the end of today, they're going to come, like I said, on Friday, and Friday afternoon, we're going to find out who will be the finalists for the national debate. So today we have Pool B, and the schools are as follows. Port Moresby National High School against Laloki High School. Without further ado, let me now welcome to the stage the first school for Pool B, which are Pomnets and Laloki High School. Port Moresby National High School, the speakers are as follows. Judah Memafu, Sue Auda, Catherine Petrus, and Roseanne Saria. Please make welcome the Port Moresby National High School. For Laloki High School, we have Bernadette Hekwam, Gima Kone, Alan Temu, and Jerry. The topic of discussion is decentralization can break PNG. Port Moresby National High School is going for the topic, and Laloki High School is going against the topic. Now I'd like to welcome to the stage the first speaker of the affirmative side.
Good morning, mistress of ceremony, adjudicators, timekeepers, the opposing team which is Laloki Secondary, and the audience. My name is Catherine Petrus, and I am the first speaker of the government. Our given topic, decentralization can break PNG. Why? Because the given topic is a statement, and therefore, a statement, it's a proclamation, declaration, a fact, assertion, testimony, or report. Therefore, I believe that our topic, which is decentralization can break PNG, is true. Supporting facts and statements that will be presented later on by our remaining speakers will prove. Therefore, we strongly believe that decentralization can break PNG. For the speakers and their roles, as the first speaker, my argument is based on the political and social aspect. For our second speaker, Sue Hauda, will present her argument based on the economic aspect. Judah Memofu will present on the administrative aspect as the third speaker, and Rosanna Saria, our fourth and final speaker, will summarize the main points and give recommendations as well. Now for the definition. The topic, decentralization can break PNG, is defined as decentralization is the process or processes of distributing and the allocating of powers of decision-making down to constructed sub-bodies of the government, allowing these sub-bodies to operate as a unit. Yet, they are branches of a central command system operating as a chain of command. Can is being able, allowed, or to be capable of. Break. Break is to separate, divide, destroy, crash, collapse, or fail. PNG, Papua New Guinea. Now for my argument. Political theorists and the government, we strongly believe that there are limits to decentralization as a strategy. I believe that the relaxation of direct control or authority introduces the possibility of disagreements and division at critical moments, especially if what is decentralized is decision-making amongst human beings. Which means that during this period of time that takes for the decision to be handed down or the final say of a problem, anything can happen. This means that there will be disagreements, fighting, and killing. You may say that, or my opposing team may say that, without a deciding will, how can people run a factory, manage a construction company, or steer a ship? Let me remind you that Papua New Guineans are bright and gifted on the practical side of things than the theory. And therefore, this proves that practices handed down from the first or the government team can be proven that the practices can be true. Thank you.
Thank you, first speaker of the affirmative side. Now I'd like to call upon the first speaker of the opposition side.
Thank you, hosts, adjudicators, audience, and my fellow debaters. My name is Benale Telpa. As the first speaker for the negative team, would like to introduce my team members. Second speaker, Lima Kone, he will be talking on economic decentralization. Ricky Peka, the third speaker, he will be talking on political decentralization. Jerry Chinabi, he will summarize and also recommend and talk on administrative decentralization. So, problem in decision making is decentralization allows for decision making that is in the best interest of everyone. So, we the negative team strongly and firmly stand that decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. Let me re-emphasize on that one. Decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. According to our Oxford mini dictionary, it states that decentralization is transfer from central to local control. Or in other words, decentralization is the delegation of powers from much higher levels to much lower levels. In order to spread powers to lower level is to assist people a bit more better. So there are 4 types of decentralization used by World Bank are as follows: fiscal decentralization, political decentralization, administrative decentralization, and economic decentralization. As I've said earlier on, I'll be talking on fiscal decentralization. Fiscal decentralization is transfer of authority and responsibility for revenue generation and public finance away from central government to provinces and local level and local government. There are 3 examples of fiscal decentralization. One is self-financing or cost recovery through user charges. 2, expansion of local revenues through property or sales taxes. 3, intergovernmental transfers of general revenues from tax collected by national to local governments for general or specific uses. So, my point is that the creation of a larger number of local level governments units with responsibility for public finance opens a multitude of opportunities for corruption and misuse of public expenditure. In addition to that, the cost of collecting taxes at a local level may be more inefficient than tax collection by a central government authority. In my opinion, I strongly and firmly stand that decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. Once again, let me re-emphasize on that one. I strongly and firmly stand that decentralization cannot break Papua New Guinea. That's centralization which can break Papua New Guinea. Lastly, I quote from the Papua New Guinea's Law and Legal System Book, the National Goal Number 2. It states that equality and participating. We declare our second goal to be for all citizens to have an equal opportunity to participate in and benefit from the development of our country. Okay. My question is, since 1975 up until 2010, that's about 35 years of independence. Has Papua New Guinea broken up? Like any part of Papua New Guinea broken up to make another country? Thank you.
Thank you. First speaker of the opposition side. Now I'd like to call upon the second speaker of the affirmative side.
Yeah. Thank you, Mistress of Ceremony. As our first speaker has already mentioned, I am the second speaker of the affirmative side. My name is Suhara. I will be basically talking on the economical aspects of decentralization. But before I go on to my topics, I would like to rebut on what the first speaker of the opposition has said. Now, you said something about centralization can break PNG, but you didn't state how centralization can break PNG. And secondly, you stated something on finance. You said that you mentioned something about the taxes being collected at different levels of government. But let me tell you something. As taxes are being collected at different levels of government, somewhere along the way, we do experience this. Money is misused. There is a misuse of funds. Somehow it gets lost. Now, moving on to my point. As I've said, I'll be basically talking about the economical aspects of decentralization. Now, this is basically to do with the economy. Now, when we talk about the economy, we're talking economics here. Now, economics is the study of how we allocate limited resources into the unlimited wants and needs of the people. Decentralization, in its own economic definition, can be defined as the distribution of power or functions, being it executive, legislative, or judiciary, or financial within the provinces. Now, decentralization was used before in other countries, and during the time of independence, we adopted decentralization and are currently practicing it. Decentralization is the base of the 8-point plan. The 8-point plan, which is currently in its expanded form, the Vision 2050. Now, what I'm saying here is that the 8-point plan had been extracted and expanded in its own aspects. Now, PNG, let me state again about what I said of us practicing decentralization. Now, PNG is not, remember, PNG is not a decentralized nation, but we do practice it. We practice it, but we are not a decentralized nation. Why do I say this? I say this because there are some functions of the government that do not practice decentralization. Functions such as finance, the police, the army, and the court. These are all financed and controlled by the government in a central way. Okay, the three main arms of the government are legislative. This is the government, the people who make the laws. The executive, the people who execute the law. This is, in PNG we have the National Executive Council. And then there is the judiciary, the people who uphold the law. This is the police force and the army. Without any one of these coexisting, there is no government. If there isn't legislative, but there is executive and judiciary, there is no government. They coexist among each other. A good example is the autonomous region of Bougainville. I would give you. They are now decentralized. They have got their own power. The government has decentralized their power to the autonomous region of Bougainville and let them to govern their own region. However, they're still part of Papua New Guinea. And they control the wealth and resources as well. In this way, just imagine if all the nations were all the provinces were decentralized, we'll be governing all our own wealth and resources. The effects of being an autonomous is that more rich countries become more rich, not countries, sorry, provinces, to be specific in Papua New Guinea. The provinces who have more resources become more rich, and the provinces who do not have these resources will become very poor. So the rich becomes richer and the poor becomes poor. So with regards to autonomy, independent mind leads to autonomy, and autonomy leads to independence. So just mark my words. Maybe one day, autonomous region of Bougainville may fight for independence. Thank you.
Thank you, second speaker of the affirmative side. Now I'd like to call upon the second speaker of the opposing team.
Good morning, audience, adjudicators, and thank you, host. Before I emphasize on my points, which is on the economic decentralization, I rebut on the second speaker of the affirmative side. She mentioned something on money misused, but you didn't give an example. On the other hand, you are saying that we are not a decentralization country, but we practice. Decentralization is all about shared powers. Traditionally, you can see from the father, he inherits his character to the child for him to run. Decentralization will not break PNG because it shows democracy, where it gets more people involved and creates a strong civil society. Reason, without decentralization, for instance, if the governor for Central Province, Hon Alphonse Moroy, is in control, all basic services for the province would be injected to his electorate since he's in power. But due to decentralization, the funds for basic services are distributed evenly to all electorates. Number two, brings the government closer to the people in terms of goods and services. For example, the telecommunication companies like Digicel. The national government consults the landowners of the specific areas through its provincial and local level government to get permission to set up the towers. Then in return, these landowners are being paid by the company. On the other hand, you communicate with your loved ones at 11 o'clock p.m., which costs 11 per minute. And it makes life easier for you. Can't you see that? Okay, let's get back to my point. What is an economic decentralization? An economic decentralization is the central the transfer of central government functions from the state to the private sector. The three most common forms of economic decentralization are privatization, deregulation, and contracting out. Privatization is shifting functions in whole or part from government to the private sector when there is no continuing public policy reason to retain responsibility within governments, or when that responsibility can be discharged through regulation. Divestiture is a form of privatization involving the outright sale of government-owned assets or enterprise. Deregulation. Deregulation replaces government administration with market administration. Instead of bureaucratic rules and procedures regulating the economic process of supply and demand regulate these activities. 3. Contracting out. Government transfers supply or operations of a function to a contractor for a specified period of time, but without relinquishing program responsibility or accountability. We as the negative team disagree that decentralization cannot break PNG. Decentralization is, I re-emphasize that decentralization is all about sharing powers. This nation is built on the foundation of sharing. So other nations from other parts of the world recognize Papua New Guinea as a Christian country because of decentralization. People had their share of something. For example, when a hunter came home, he shared all the meats to others. Likewise, decentralized powers down to the people who enable services to get to people all walk of life. This is the wisdom or power of decentralization that cannot break our nation, Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
Thank you, second speaker of the opposition side. Now I'd like to call upon the third speaker of the affirmative side.
Thank you, Mistress of Ceremony. Good morning, everyone, adjudicators, timekeeper, and the rest of you beautiful audience sitting out there. I find that it's my duty to inform and persuade you all to the fact that decentralization can break PNG. Why? Before I go on to that, let me rebut on a few statements made by the opposition. Now, you mentioned something that was firstly mentioned by my second speaker, that money misused and you don't want an example. Question, have you read the newspapers lately? Every day we find that there's always a misuse in government by a lot of things. A lot of funds have been going missing between the provincial government, local level government. We don't see any development. Now, if you were listening yesterday to the debates that were being mentioned, there was a mention of urbanization being more developed than the rural areas. And that is very true. We see a lot of aid posts being run down in the villages than we see, and more money being pumped into the urbanized hospitals and aid posts. You also mentioned that there is no difference between practicing decentralization and being decentralization. Let me tell you that there is a fundamental difference between practicing decentralization and being decentralized. Now, let me give you an example. If you're from the Civic area, or let me use Gulf because I'm from the Gulf area. If you're from Gulf, you will say you are from Gulf. But if you're a central person living in Gulf, you cannot say you're from Gulf. That's just the same thing. We are not a decentralized nation, yet we practice it. There is a big difference between the two. Now, you also mentioned something between forces of supply and demand. As I go further in my presentation of the topic, administration of decentralization, you will see that forces of demand and supply actually state that we need a centralized government instead of a decentralized one. Now, moving on to my topic, administration of decentralization. Once again, I state and make it clear to you all that we, the government, believe that decentralization can break PNG. Now, this administration of a decentralized government seeks to redistribute authority, responsibility, financial resources, and for providing services for the public to the different levels of government, as quoted from www.cismncolombia.com education. Why is this wrong? Why is administration of decentralization wrong? Now there are many facts, and I've highlighted about 4. 1, transparency and accountability. Now, history will always repeat itself. That's something that we must all always remember. An example, if you're a long jumper, and if you want to take a jump, you always have to go back before you go forward. You step back to take your ground before you can jump out and make the best of what you want to be. That's what is being highlighted in Vision 2050. We're looking at the past of what's been happening at the back of us, and we want to see and we try to build a better future. Now in 1977, the national government found out that the delivery of services since the establishment of the provincial government was very, very low. They did not cater for the people in the local level government because that's what decentralization was about to bring to our country. We've never seen anything since 1975. Pardon me. Now technical aspects that were found and reported in 1980 weren't acted upon. When they found out in 1977 that the provincial government was not doing the right thing, they never acted upon anything, even though they tried to practice decentralization. Once again, I would say history will always repeat itself. We're stating that decentralization can break PNG as taken out of Vision 2050, and that is going to happen again if we continue to go on the same trend that we are following. There is always an abuse of power, funds, that is always happening. We are humans. There will always be something that happens. Why we say centralization is a better thing is that because once everything is in a central area, there will always be a point that everything will come and everything is transparent and more accountable because it's just one level of government instead of having so many different things, and the Ombudsman Commission will have to go and check out everything. Maintenance, infrastructure, administration, human resources, airports, medicine, and education. Given an example, if we have one airport, you will only have to look after the one airport. Economics is a study of scarce resource to unlimited ones. Now if you have just so many unlimited ones, so many unlimited airports, how can that scarce resource, the money that has been allocated by the government, cater for all of that? Why not have one centralized way of doing things, and you can just put all your resources in there and make sure it's state-of-the-art one? For example, private and the public sector. If we have the public sector, in the public sector we see that there is not always a delivery of service, whereas in the private sector, you see that there is always something there that's always been done. Palm General Hospital, Pacific International Hospital. Once you walk into Palm General Hospital, you will not see someone coming up to you and asking you what's wrong. Whereas if you go into Pacific International Hospital, there will always be someone there to tell you what's wrong and what's right. You will ask them, oh, I need services like this and like that. The last point I'd like to bring up is adaptability. We have 800 different languages, 800 different cultures. Once you've been decentralized, you'll be able to stay where you are and not come into the city. That will breed something called tribal warfare, division. A house divided will always fall, and a house together will always stand together, and we will always see Vision 2050 come about. What would you rather prefer? PNG having civil war, or us together as a country united to see Vision 2050 come about? Thank you.
Thank you, third speaker of the affirmative side. Now I'd like to call upon the third speaker of the opposition.
Thank you, host. And good morning to all adjudicators, and not forgetting the audience and my fellow debaters. Alright, as my first speakers mentioned, I'll be talking about political decentralization, and let me describe what is political decentralization. Political decentralization involves the transfer of political function, that is democratic representation and the powers to make laws away from the central government to the provinces and local government. Now, before I go emphasizing on my argument, let me rebut on what the second speaker of the affirmative has said. Okay? He has stated that the decentralization will break PNG. Only centralization will integrate PNG. Now, an example you can see in the Bougainville, who broke up in the history of Papua New Guinea in 1976. An amendment of constitution was made because of centralization. Bougainville has a lot of resources in their land, but they did not benefit out of that. That's why they were raised with violence. And all the benefits were enjoyed in Waigani and not Bougainville. Now, this centralization of powers to the other levels of government reduces the risk of a centralized system becoming too powerful, which could result in dictatorship and tyranny. Okay, dictatorship, you may wonder, what does that mean? Dictatorship simply means in the volume 5 of the World Book of Encyclopedia means dictatorship is a form of a government in which individual or a group has absolute power. If you can see, in Waigani has a lot of this power, dictatorship, and as you can see, Papua New Guinea, we are a democratic nation, and we are not a dictatorship. And dictatorship involves the power that will be in a centralized area and not in the local level. Now let me give a brief, back to my argument, a brief history of political decentralization. In 1949, according to the history information that we got, as my themas we got, in 1949 to 1976, the local government introduced democratic elected to most Papua New Guineans, and which is democratic nation we are today. And number two, the point that in 1949 to 1976, the local government promoted a structured system of planning and budgeting and promoted community self-help through a tax and community work. As the third speaker of the negative team, we, the negative, strongly and we stand confidently and we believe that Papua New Guinea and the decentralization will not break Papua New Guinea. Now let me ask this question. Since 1975, did Papua New Guinea break apart? Now they're saying that Papua New Guinea will break apart in areas where you can see that they're saying that in the National Capital District, you can see the powers should be involved in centralized. And let me tell you, we have a decentralization here in our nation, which the powers are transferred to the lower level of government. And let me address this. For example, we have the member for an electorate. Now, as a villager or a chief cannot come straight and tell my difficulties to the member for an electorate. I'll come to a level where I can come and see the committee, from the committee to the president, from the president to the local level government, and from the local level government brings up to the member of the electorate, and from the member of electorate brings it up to the centralized area. From there, you cannot know if centralized area is making the decision. You cannot know whether the local level governments, the people are suffering. They don't know, and that is why local level government comes in this area. Now, political decentralization aims to give citizens and elected representatives more power in local public decision, making a great influence over the public policies that affect their lives. Therefore, we the negative team, strongly stand and believe that decentralization will not break PNG. Thank you very much.
Thank you, third speaker of the opposing team. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the IBS school debate competition. We have NCD schools debating for Pool B. Today we have the first two schools, Port Moresby National High School and Naloki High School. Their topic is decentralization can break PNG. Pomnets is going for the topic and Naloki High School is going against the topic. Now I'd like to call upon the final speaker of the affirmative team.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the educators, timekeepers, of course, the opposing team or the negative team. And sorry, once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the educators, timekeepers, the participants, the opposing team, and the beautiful audience. Firstly, as introduced by the first speaker, I'd like to reintroduce myself, then go on to my rebuttals, summarize my affirmative team's arguments, then do some recommendations. As mentioned earlier, my name is Rosanna Sarrea. I am the last and final speaker of the affirmative team. Now, the topic on debate or on motion is decentralization can break PNG. My team and I strongly believe in what we say, and we know for sure, 101%, that decentralization can break PNG. Now, before I go on to summarizing what my affirmative team just presented, I'd like to do some rebuttals on the speakers of the opposing team. The first speaker defined decentralization. This speaker said that decentralization from the Mini Oxford Dictionary is defined as central powers that is distributed to local powers, then carried on to the citizens of this country. She said central powers. If the dictionary says that, then why us in PNG, we continue to practice decentralization? Decentralization is not our culture, it doesn't belong to us. One, decentralization belongs to Africa or Tanzania in Africa, and it was brought into our country by Father John Momis. That was way after independence in 1975. Decentralization is decision-making or execution of responsibilities to minor or subnational government bodies. Decision-making process. As mentioned earlier by the negative side, they said that decision-making, we can wait. But the fact is that while waiting, we do not know what happens along the way. Obviously, the up-and-coming LNG project development in my area back at the Central Province. LNG, just recently we heard of fights, wars, that is something that never happened to my people, being involved in tribal fights. You know why? Because they do not know where their money is going. They do not know where the money that has been promised by the government is going. Why? Because of decentralization. This money has been misused by the middleman that is in the process. Something on revenue and specific uses. Now let me ask you, so far, have we seen any big changes in PNG? With the visions that are always coming up and the missions and whatever we call them? You see, you may be saying yes, but that is not true. It's just a yes. You see, this money that has been promised to us by the government, and then it is passed on. The money that is passed on does not reach us. We do not feel a touch of it. Any of these schools, can you tell me that the government has brought a private school bus for your school? No, your school does it for you, not the government. Equality. Did you know that decentralization is to do with diversity? It divides us. In what ways can we be equal if we are practicing decentralization? Something on Bougainville and saying that everything from Bougainville is coming to Waigani. You see, these government people accepted Bougainville to be an autonomous region, so they became an autonomy now. And you see, their money or the resources they have is said to be pumped back to the government, and it is not benefiting Bougainville. Is Bougainville being, is it developing? No, it's not. Why? Because the money is still functioning under the decentralized powers, that it is passed on to these people, and these people benefit for themselves and not back to this country, or even specifically Bougainville. Another thing, remember, centralization is not dictatorship. It is just like decentralization. Centralization is the control of powers. It is just a control, and it is not a system of a government. It is just like us, out of nowhere, foreigners coming and trying to adopt decentralization. It cannot be so, my people. On Monday's newspaper, May 31st, 2010, the journalist Muhammad Bashar said that landowners' funds abuse investigated. This is to do with Juha funds being misused by the government. You see, this is decentralization. Because of that power, the money is going straight to the government. And the money that is released by the government is going down to subnational bodies. And we do not know what these people are doing with this money. And we are not benefiting from this money. Because of decentralization, if everything should be used and everything should be arranged in just one place, I tell you, Papua New Guinea would be better than this. You talked about health services. My goodness. We all know the recent cholera outbreak. 2 weeks ago, the latest, that cholera has grown from 400 to 500. TB has really grown to more than 1,000. Malaria, on the other hand, and HIV and AIDS, of course, the killer disease. And if you are saying that decentralization government for this time is providing all these services, then in what ways can we prove it? If sickness is growing in Papua New Guinea, if people are still dying in Papua New Guinea, if we are still losing manpower in Papua New Guinea, then how can this decentralization system come in from out of nowhere, come into our country and help us develop? It cannot be so. Now let me summarize on what my speakers just presented to you. The economical aspect of this. From our research, the reference handbook for local level government administration of the reforms at the subnational bodies, page 57, figure 6.3, talks about implementations, budget implementations, economics. In that book, or through our research, we found out that the flow of money, or how money is passed on from one body to another body, then to subnational bodies, and then it doesn't reach us. Flow of money from the Minister for Treasury or Finance and Treasury, it goes down to the Secretary for Finance and Treasury. From there, it goes on to the departmental heads and the constitutional heads of this country. Then to the provincial heads. From there, I don't know, another head. That's the local level government down, for instance, back at my home, Motukoita. Yeah. Okay, you may be saying that this money that is passed on benefits my people and I, or it benefits obviously other places as well, not only my place. But we never benefited it. We never have any feel or any touch of this money that is being passed on. You see, they are doing LNG projects along my way. But do we benefit the money? No, we don't. But there's more killings. When the money is passed on, the flow of money, it is passed on, then something happens along the way. Then there's no development, but there's more corruption. Now let me bring you back to history. Plantation agriculture economy. Plantation agriculture economy is a profit-oriented type of economy that has been introduced to us by the Europeans in the late 1800s, 1880, late 19th century. You see, our people accepted this. But what happened? When we accepted this plantation agriculture economy, the money that was generated from this went back to other countries such as France. And now they are well developed, such as Japan, they are well developed. And what is happening to Papua New Guinea? We are not being developed, but we are being boomed of our economy. Now to recommend on this motion, the topic that is on motion, we, the affirmative team, I, as the last and final speaker of the affirmative team, strongly believe and stand with my team to say that decentralization can break PNG. Okay, we recommend that. There is nothing else that we can do with this. We can either to restructure it or to reinforce the law or to do whatsoever, but it will not benefit Papua New Guinea. And this is the honest and fact that you all as future leaders must know. Therefore, we recommend that decentralization in PNG must be abolished before it's too late. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was the final speaker for the affirmative side. Now I'd like to call upon the final speaker of the opposition side.
Good morning, everyone. My area of discussion, as pointed out by the first speaker, is administrative decentralization. But before I carry on with my points, let me do a rebut on what some of the members of the affirmative team have mentioned. Speaker 2 mentioned that we are practicing a we are practicing decentralization, but we are not a decentralized country. She mentioned that police, money, all these things are all centralized. How can they be centralized when we have branches all throughout Papua New Guinea? Police and banks all throughout Papua New Guinea. That's decentralization. Speaker 4 mentioned that through decentralization, we do not know where our money is going. What do you expect from centralization? You wouldn't even know what is happening with the money. We also mentioned that it is dividing us up. We are not divided. It's sharing. I am also from Gulf Province, and I really believe that my provincial people really need some services in the area, and the only way to get this there is through a decentralized government. And now to my points. This administrative decentralization. Administration are people mandated to run an organization, and decentralization is the spreading of administration more evenly. There are three main forms of administrative decentralization. They are delegation, devolution, and deconcentration, which all mean about the same thing. My first point of argument is provincial plans. Provinces are able to come up with their own development and service delivery plans. They decide on development that would best benefit the people. The second point is better inter-organizational cooperation. Decentralization allows for equal participation and cooperation among central, national, and provincial government agencies, non-governmental organizations or NGOs, donor agencies, international organizations, and other stakeholders, thus promoting the national goal number 2, equality and participation. My third point is greater flexibility and innovation. Thank you. In the application of development strategies. Decentralization allows the provinces, districts, and wards to come up with strategies for development projects, service delivery in areas of health, education, commerce, etc., etc., etc. It allows for people to make informed decisions, become innovative in strategizing their development programs based on the local knowledge on the immediate needs for the local communities. For example, my village in Mekio, Apong IP, the people may not have the same needs as the people living in Tubushera village. So a decentralized government helps to cater for the people's wants and needs for their everyday life. The main point for decentralization in Papua New Guinea is to bring services to the rural areas of Papua New Guinea as well as the urban areas. It is to help develop and make the lives of people better. Now to sum up what my speakers have mentioned. The first speaker talked about fiscal decentralization. Fiscal, F-I-S-C-A-L, not physical. It is the transfer of authority and responsibility for revenue generation and public finance away from the central government to the provinces and local government. The second speaker stressed on political decentralization, economic decentralization, which is the transfer of central government functions from the state to the private sector. The third speaker stressed on political decentralization, which is the distribution of functions from the central government to the provinces and local government. And I myself have talked about the administrative decentralization. I want to ask you all again what my first speaker has asked. Since independence in 1975, have we broken up? Have we broken up? No. We're still one country. The Vision 2020 to 2050 states that Papua New Guinea aims to achieve a smart, wise, fair, healthy, and happy society by 2050. And I can confidently tell you all in this room today that the only way we can achieve that is through decentralization. To my recommendation, therefore, in order for decentralization to occur, we suggest more effective monitoring procedures and processes should be established by different levels and corrective measures should be done on short-term basis. Thank you all for a wonderful year.
Thank you, final speaker of the opposing team. Please round of applause for these two teams. Now we're going to have 5 minutes question time. So any questions from the audience, you may ask. Any questions? Yes, young man from Laloki. You may come up. Remember, no personal attacks. And also a reminder to the participants, when you're answering, please answer diplomatically.
My question goes back to the affirmative team, which is POMNET, especially to the third speaker of POMNET. First of all, I'm going to repeat what you have said. You said that decentralization can break PNG, which simply means that centralization is a better future for PNG. Okay, in PNG we have 23 provinces, and if only one place, which is Port Moresby, if only Port Moresby is the place where the power is kept, what about the people in the other 22 provinces? Okay, if we hold all the power back over here in Port Moresby, and we don't share the power to some good, well-educated people in the other provinces, okay, if we keep the power, we won't know what is happening in the other 22 provinces. How will you know what is happening in the other provinces if there is nobody in charge in the other 22 provinces? Thank you.
Decentralization can break PNG. You mentioned that if, well, your question went along the line that if there was just one central power, how will we be in charge of, how will we know what's happening in the other 23 provinces? Well, decentralization is just the distribution of power. Centralization is just having one central power in charge of everything, meaning they will know what's going on. Now, if we were to have more decentralization, there will be less effectiveness for transparency than a centralized government, because there's so many levels of government that you have to go through in order to find out that there's development happening in your area. Now, I gave an example. We have so many unlimited wants, scarce resources. You go back to your village, wherever you come from, you see the aid posts there, you see the schools there. Are they as developed as what you see in Mosby? They're not. They're run down. There are no medical supplies. Now, if you have a centralized system of doing things, administration, no matter political or fiscal, it's just having everything in one particular area and having everything at state of the art. In that way, you may argue and say that you're going out there, it brings it better to you, but the services is being brought to you, but you're going out there, you don't have the service. What would you rather do? Have that 1 or 2% chance of life by coming to Mosby, or rather die out there with no medical supplies? Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
The judges have allowed for the fourth speaker to add a comment onto this.
Thank you for that question. Okay, let's look back, like broaden your minds to the world, the globe as a whole. Okay, can we look back to China? Comparing China to us, they have a centralized system of governance. And comparing them to us, like we have a population that is not as much as China does. China has a rapid or vast population growth, but yet they are well developed and they are also well industrialized than us here in Papua New Guinea. So if you are saying that central government system, the question that you gave, my answer to yours is that just look back to a country, the fact that China is very classical here, that China has a very big population that is maybe twice as much as Papua New Guinea, but yet China is well developed and Papua New Guinea is not. What is the reason for this? Well, they have a centralized system of governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? One last question from, yes, young lady from Pomnets.
The opposing team has just mentioned something about how we broken up PNG. Just imagine, Bougainville has just gone away from our government. Like it's on its own now. It's not with us now. And New Island is also trying to break away from PNG. And how can you say that we are not? I mean, how can you say that we are not How can you say that we are not united? We are, our unity is, we are breaking away now. Bougainville is breaking away from PNG, and it's like, we're not united now. And you also said something about sharing. Can you see that your school is far away from Central Province? And then, you're not, the government is not seeing all these things that are happening in this country, like transport problem and all things. Because, I mean, what else? Shut up. Okay. Yeah, you can see that we are not, government don't evenly distribute all the resources that some provinces have. Yeah, government is not distributing things equally. Therefore, I'm saying they are not sharing with us. It's kind of greedy type. That's so much.
Sorry, is this a question or a statement? But anyway, she came up with on the Bougainville. All right, in that manner, it did not happen. The provincial government was not transferred yet. In 1976, the constitution was amended so there could be a provincial government after the example of that North Solomon, which is Bougainville provincial government. So that's where decentralization came in, because the benefit that Bougainville did not get, that it is from the centralized area. That is why came in 1976, after a year of independence, they came up to do this constitutional amendment, so that could be provincial government after the example of this Bougainville crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, final speaker of the opposing team. Now we'll move on to the judges' remarks. We'll have one of the judges to come up and give the remarks of the two debating teams.
Good morning. Again, we are pleased to note that the debating team are very active and have done quite some very responsible research. And this is one good thing about debates. Of course, you get an opportunity to do research well, because you're going to come out. But we hope that it is not just the debate that is allowing you to do research. Everything that we would like to know, we need to get our facts correct. And the judges, we are pleased that this research, there is evidence that this research is going on, and the debaters have explored some very difficult issues about it. And the debaters have explored some very difficult issues about decentralization. There are pros, there are good things about decentralization, and there's some challenges about decentralization. They've come up with some very good examples. They've emphasized some very practical situations. For example, we are still a united country. But the other side is saying there are issues that we must address, we must be aware of. The issues that can break our nations apart. Decentralization can be for it or against it. You are the ones who are going to make the decisions for us. It will be your opportunity, as I said earlier on, in 10 years' time to lead us. So we are very pleased with the quality of debate that is going on and the confidence that the speakers are coming forward with. It is very difficult for us to make the distinction, but we are very, very vigilant on specific issues. Issues like, if you say, we are going to tear apart, we want to know 1, 2, or 3 points to consolidate your views about why we're going to tear apart. Or if you say we're going to be together, we would like to know how many things that will keep us together. Okay, these are issues that you have to take up. Once you establish those facts, it is also important you give examples. And speakers are giving examples, but we would like to hear more of that. We would like to see the logical presentation of your argument. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you this, 1, 2, and 3. And then I'll present the facts about it, 1, 2, and 3. And here are some examples to convince you. And therefore, I recommend. These are logical presentations that we are looking for. And it's coming through, but we would like you to improve. And as we progress, and hopefully this tradition continues next year, and IBS would like to encourage that, because it helps us in our logical thinking, presentation, doing research, and making sure that we convince the public about our views. So thank you very much again, the debaters. We look forward to the next themes that are coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Solon. Now we're going to thank the schools, Port Moresby National High School and Laloki High School for this first round of the debate. As they leave the stage, Port Moresby National High School, Judah Memafu, Sue Auda, Catherine Petrus, and Rosanna Saria. Thank you, opponents. The Laloki High School participants were Bernadette Hekwa, Gima Kone, Ricky Pekai, and Jerry Chinabi. Thank you, Laloki High School.